What the heck? Video's gone. This video was removed from YouTube. What? You're censoring me? Hi, you just censored my video.
Sure did.
Why?
You violated our community guidelines.
I violated your community guidelines. Could you be more specific?
You violated our community guidelines.
Could you be a little more specific on what I did?
You violated our community guidelines.
Well, that doesn't tell me anything.
Let me put it to you this way. You violated our community guidelines.
My video wasn't hurting anyone. I don't understand why you would censor me. Oh, right. It says here you violated our community guidelines. Who even writes your community guidelines?
Not our community, I can tell you that.
Lately, you've been censoring doctors sharing their valid medical opinion. You've been banning their videos too. Why?
Well, their medical expertise violates our community guidelines.
But you guys aren't doctors.
Yeah, we're not.
Then why would you censor what doctors have to say?
Because we control speech.
You think you can control speech?
No, not at all. We do control speech.
Why would you want to do that?
Because we have community guidelines, and it's important that the community only speaks what's in alignment with the community guidelines. Otherwise, we'll censor the community for the community's own good. It's like communism without the cold weather.
But that infringes on freedom of speech.
Oh no, not at all. Our community is free to say what we tell them they can say.
But that's not freedom of speech.
It is according to our community guidelines.
But not according to the Constitution.
We don't have to abide by the Constitution because we're a private enterprise.
You're a monopoly.
Thank you.
There's gotta be a reason why you're doing all this. Censoring speech, banning videos by doctors talking about hydroxychloroquine, censoring anything about the coronavirus that doesn't perfectly align with the mainstream narrative. What's the reason?
Oh, a reason? Yeah, absolutely. We don't want Trump reelected.
What?
Yeah, ever since COVID got politicized, we decided to ban anything that doesn't support the left's perspective.
So you just decided to censor people?
Well, they were violating our community
guidelines. Got it. And those were written in a way that goes against Trump and supports the left.
Exactly. You are currently not violating our community guidelines.
Look, I'm not a fan of the guy and a lot of people don't like him, but why are you so intent on keeping him out of office?
Here in Silicon Valley, we think Trump is all that's wrong in America. He is very un-American.
But by taking away people's First Amendment right to freedom of speech and controlling what the population can and can't say, like you're running a communist dictatorship, kind of makes what you're doing to save people from Trump much worse than what Trump's doing.
We choose not to see it that way. We are very American.
You are very un-American. I think someone needs to save us from you.
Our community guidelines that we've written for your protection will be all that you'll need. Take a copy.
This just says community guidelines.
Right. That's what you have to follow.
But what are the community guidelines?
Whatever we want them to be in the moment. This way it just stays pretty open-ended.
You have a dangerous level of power over people.
If you can't learn to enjoy conforming to the community guidelines and all the freedoms they give you, we'll be very happy to completely silence you by deplatforming you.
I think what you're doing is a very bad idea.
This video is brought to you by the First Amendment, freedom of speech. It gives you and I the right to speak our minds and express ourselves. But here's the problem. When people and groups are driven by fear, they want to prohibit anybody from speaking a perspective that's contrary to theirs. That doesn't mean their perspective is correct. It just means their fear and insecurity drives them to try to control other people. But here's the good news. If you're a brave, strong individual, you won't let others instill fear over you just so they can have control over you. Instead, you'll exercise your personal sovereignty through bravery and speaking out against those who try to take your rights away. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, but you won't have to go there if you embrace, stand for, and help protect your freedom of speech. Get your First Amendment today by shattering the silence of peaceful slavery and speaking your mind. In the words of Brian Rose, I may not agree with everything you have to say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Freedom of speech. Ask yourself if it's right for you.
It's Lucy and Jeff going for walks and talk about banksters and Bitcoin and COVID and stuff. It's Lucy and Jeff and tacos and kisses. Hey Lucy, you hear YouTube deleted our last video 3 times? Yeah, YouTube's community guidelines can go pound tacos. I eat tacos and give kisses. YouTube could screw off. Well, we're back. Even though YouTube deleted our last video 3 times. I'd like to thank Awaken with JP for that intro video, as it explains perfectly exactly what we have to go through. As well, the first time they deleted it, they said it was for copyright, and it was the all-seeing eye of CBS for apparently using that Andy Griffith show footage from like 100 years ago. And so we took out the CBS stuff and we re-uploaded it. And it was very quickly taken down. And the second time, they said it was for impersonating. That's all it said. It was against community guidelines, as JP was saying. And it was for impersonating. Well, I don't know who I was impersonating. Maybe it was Lucy. Lucy, was I impersonating you? Yeah, sometimes you do a little bit, but no, that's all me. So we thought, okay, let's try uploading it one more time and see what happens. And so we uploaded it, and it said that it was against community guidelines. And this time it gave us the reason, the third time. It said, YouTube doesn't allow content that explicitly disputes the efficacy of the World Hoax Organization or local health authorities recommended guidance on social distancing and self-isolation that may lead people to act against that guidance. Okay. So then went over to Facebook, where we still upload videos, and the same video was restricted. It says partly false information checked by independent fact checkers. Oh, the fact checkers. I love the fact checkers. You fact checkers, keep checking your facts. You know, I would have to say probably what I said in that video was the reason it was taken off of almost everywhere. And for all the fact checkers, all I did was I talked about what the CDC said and the CIA New York Times. The CDC said 94% of all these so-called deaths in the US of A, they had 2 to 4 other comorbidities.
As your trusted health authority, I'll share with you why you should be more scared than ever before. But first, there's been a new twist in the COVID crisis. We just published research on the CDC website that shows only 6% of COVID deaths that we've been reporting to you were caused by COVID alone. 94% of COVID deaths had an average of 2.6 comorbidities. That means of the 161,392 COVID deaths that we've been shoving in your face, only 9,210 were legitimate COVID deaths. So does that mean we've been deceiving you and inflating the COVID death count by 152,182 deaths? Absolutely not, because we genuinely don't believe in math. And does this new information that proves that COVID is far less deadly than we've been trying to get you to believe mean you shouldn't live with intense fear anymore? Absolutely not. As your trusted health authorities, we consider our original estimates of over 2 million COVID deaths in the US to be a far more accurate number than the 9,200 deaths that have actually happened. And of the 9,210 deaths, 90% of them were in people of advanced age, which means young people are at extreme risk because you never know when your age is going to advance by multiple decades all at once. People finding this published information and spreading it around on social media wasn't part of our pandemic because it puts people at risk of not being scared to death of this statistically not very deadly disease. Luckily, we started running smear campaigns on the sources that are highlighting this dangerous fake news that's based on facts. Look for terms like conspiracy theories and fringe theories that we use to make these news statistics irrelevant. And we're also having it censored on social media already for everyone's protection. And to help you further forget this new relevant information, we've also buried it on the CDC website. Good luck finding it. Only 6% of reported COVID deaths actually died from COVID? Now's a great time to discount people that speak of this new information with a well thought out, emotionally charged comment rebutting something they didn't say. Like, "Oh, so you're saying you don't even care about the people that did die of COVID? You're glad they're dead, you just want sick people to die?" Well, because they said nothing to indicate that. Your emotionally fueled abstract assumption is obviously a more accurate expression of what they meant than what they expressed. Now, we plead with you not to use this new information as a rational basis to rethink the level of fear that you're living under, because rethinking your thinking could cause you to change your mind.
And that doesn't mean like you had like a rash on your arm. Morbidities are like you're dying, like leukemia, cancer, broken neck from a motorcycle accident, you're bleeding to death. Even, what's his name, George Floyd was marked down as a COVID fatality. So I just pointed that out for all the fact checkers that the CDC said 94% of them, the main cause of death was not the COVIDs. And I've seen some of the commenters and they're like, well, yeah, sure, they might have had cancer and they're bleeding to death after a motorcycle accident, but they still had the COVID, so that should be marked down. Well, then I pointed out that the New York Times said 90% of the tests that come back as positive weren't positive. And the video was deleted everywhere. And get ready for more of that too, because this just popped up on FBI book. Just a little update to our terms, effective October 1st of this year. Section 3.2 of our terms of service will be updated to include, we also can remove or restrict access to your content, services, or information if we determine that doing so is reasonably necessary to avoid or mitigate adverse legal or regulatory impacts to Facebook. Yeah, so if you thought it was bad on FBI book already, October 1st, they'll be basically taking down anything that goes against the narrative that they want. And of course, in the US, everything, it's everyone's sued for everything. It's ridiculous. And Facebook's basically saying that if there's a chance they might get sued for having your post on there, that they're going to take it off. So if you thought it was bad already, it's going to get worse. And I was actually, well, first of all, let's just mention that there was no fact checkers. They didn't even exist until the ugly truth started to get out. Meanwhile, down under in Australia, they've been going insane, arresting people for FBI book posts. I have one, I'm not even gonna play it because the audio is a bit bad, but they went to this woman's house, a whole SWAT team basically, a whole bunch of cops. And it turns out she put a video of herself walking her dog. And so they came just to check up on her because you're only supposed to leave for about 1 hour per day. And only between certain hours, and only within 5 kilometers of your house. So they wanted to give her a little bit of a warning for walking her dog and posting about it on FBI book. Well, it's gotten even worse. Another woman posted, and apparently it was about a sort of a protest, a government protest, which is great. And I think it's coming up on the 5th, just so you know, in Australia. Actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. And already the Australian cops have come out and said they'll be like hunting people down if they're outside their house that day.
Staying at home and not leaving home to protest is the best way to ensure that we can recover our lives, recover our jobs, and recover some sense of normality. Don't let selfish behaviour get in the way of this. If, however, you do take the selfish option and leave home to protest, we'll be ready for you.
Hi, I'm Poppin' Fresh, the Pillsbury Doughboy.
So while I won't go into the details of our tactics and our plans on the day, be assured we'll be ready for you. And we'll be ready for you not only in the city, but we'll be ready for you when you leave home and hop on public transport or use other means to come into the city. We will be ready to meet you where you go mobile, and our aim is to prevent you from coming into the city. So we're not standing by and waiting for people to come into the city. We'll be out there in the suburbs. We'll be on the roads and the public transport system to make sure everyone is complying with the restrictions.
Hi.
So if you find yourself on public transport on Saturday, coming into the city, you can expect that police will want to speak to you. Police will want you to explain which of the permitted reasons you have for leaving home. And of course, if you're leaving home or you've left home in order to protest, if you're outside your 5 kilometre bubble, you'll be held in breach and you will be fined. And if you persist in your behaviour and you don't comply, you will be arrested in the interests of keeping everyone safe. We have hundreds of police ready to respond, including our general duties and specialist police, such as the Public Order Response Unit, Mounted Branch and the Highway Patrol. They've all been rostered and will be deployed to support this operation.
I've been in the kitchen, whipping. I've been chefing, mix it with my left hand. Water whipping and I'm stirring. Y'all want beef and I'm serving it. Water whipping and I'm stirring.
Now, this is a very significant operation. As I said last week, this takes invaluable resources away from local communities to support this. And of course, none of this would be necessary if people actually behaved in accordance with the directions and stayed at home, rather than choosing to go out selfishly and engage in public protest.
So she had posted about this and just said, you know, here's this event or whatever it is. I don't know exactly what she posted because it was all taken down so quick. But here's what happened.
Yeah, you can show me your search warrant before you go through my house.
You're the occupier or tenant?
Yeah, I own this house.
There it is. Now it's a search warrant.
Search warrant for what?
Now what I will explain to you is if you want to listen, you got your phone going.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Right. Now you're under arrest in relation to incitement.
Incitement?
Yeah. Now you're not obliged to say or do anything, but anything you say or do may be given evidence.
Excuse me, incitement for what? What on earth?
Yeah.
Excuse me, what on earth?
So just put your phone down.
Can you like
relation
record
to-
this? I'm in my pajamas.
What's
I have
this?
an ultrasound in an hour because
Yeah,
I'm
she's
pregnant.
pregnant, so
I'll take it easy.
what's
In
this
relation
about?
to
I
a
have an
face-
ultrasound
Just let me
in
finish.
an hour.
Let me finish and I'll explain. It's in relation to a Facebook post in relation to a lockdown protest you put on for Saturday.
Yeah, and I wasn't breaking any laws by doing
You
that.
are actually. You are breaking the law. That's why I'm arresting you in relation to
In
incitement.
front
How
of
can
my
you arrest
children,
her?
In
That's-
front of my 2 children.
Can't you just say to her, take the post down? Like, come
I'm
on.
happy to
Not obliged.
delete the post. This
Yeah,
is ridiculous.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I have to give you these caution rights. You understand?
Yeah, that's
You're
fine.
not-
Like, I'm
not
happy to
obliged
delete
say
the
do
post. This is
anything.
ridiculous. Like,
Anything you
this is
say
in front of
do
me. That's
may be
fine.
giving evidence. You understand that?
Yeah, that's fine. But my 2 kids are here. I have an ultrasound in an hour. Like, I'm happy to
Let me
delete
finish.
the post.
You also have the right to communicate with or to communicate with a legal practitioner. You understand those rights?
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, this is a bit unfair. Come on, mate.
No,
What about she just doesn't do the event? Like, it's not like she's done it.
Well,
She
you've
made a post.
already committed the offence. So I'm not going to
So that's an offence.
Now, the search warrant entitles us and we're required to seize any computers, any mobile devices you have.
Earth?
Yeah, can I just get your
This
badge there,
crap.
mate?
It's all there. Okay? You understand?
No, I don't really understand what I've done wrong. I really don't understand what I've done. This is ridiculous. I've got
This is a lot of stress on her too. She's pregnant, like, come on.
I'll just relax.
I'm relaxed. This is just very unfair.
What we're going to do, I'll find out what we're going to do. We seize any computers and or tablets. Just let me finish. Let me finish. Any mobile telephone you've got, okay? So what we want is any mobile telephone you've got.
You don't need that.
No, it's actually my sister's phone. It's not
Yeah,
my
it's
name.
her sister's.
Doesn't matter. Any device in this house we're taking.
This is
Well,
ridiculous.
you're not taking my phone.
Well,
I'm taking any device, mate.
any
That's
device.
my phone. It's nothing to do with her. It's my phone.
Australia is officially a complete tyrannical nightmare. 1984 Orwell. And it's interesting because you see like these cops, and they take a knee to BLM protesters who are rioting and breaking stuff, but handcuff and arrest pregnant mothers in their own home for sharing a Facebook post about a protest. So I didn't know this, but Max Egan of the Crow House was banned off of YouTube. What a surprise. I'm so shocked. For a week for posting more true information. So I didn't know that, and I saw these people getting arrested, like basically black bagged in Australia just for posting on Facebook, and Max has been pretty outspoken, and good for him for doing so. He should be. And I was like, I haven't heard from him for a week. He hasn't posted anything for a week. So I emailed him, and he was like, no, I'm okay. They just banned me for a week, so I took the week off. And just so you know, I didn't know this, but Max had been posting on his website, and he has an email list. And it's the same for us. So I'm shocked we're still on YouTube. So if this is the only way you get our information, you should just go to dollarvigilante.com and right on the front page, just type in your email. And whenever we have a new video, we send out an email. And Max is the same thing. So if you really like his content and you want to keep in the loop, make sure you go to, I think it's thecrowhouse.com or something like that. It's his website. And do that. But here's something very interesting. I noticed when I saw that pregnant woman getting arrested for doing a Facebook post, something about the cop, it's just like, first of all, he's really noticeable looking. Like he's creepy looking. He looks like he's 8 feet tall, bald. He kind of looks like, here comes Lucy, that's my girl. Yeah, she's my girl. And I just kind of noticed it, and then I saw this. So you might remember we posted another girl getting choked out on the street for not wearing a mask in Australia. Well, that looks like the same cop. And it's not even in the same city, I don't think. So, is what we're seeing basically like the arrests of these people might be real, but they're kind of doing it and bringing their cameras around and basically trying to like almost incite people or trying to like kind of show people like this is what's going to happen if you speak out. So they go and arrest, theoretically. We don't even know if these are real. A number of people, it's very public. And then possibly the goal is to make it so a lot of people are too scared to even post on Facebook or something like that. So very, very interesting stuff going on. Pretty amazing. And here's something interesting I saw. Here's a post from Alicia Johnson. Well, look what we have here. 2018, COVID-19 diagnostic test kits. No, this wasn't planned whatsoever. So you can look at some of these images, and yet for the fact checkers, oh, I love the fact checkers. Thanks for checking your facts. Oh, thank you guys so much for not checking your facts, because all I do is post to like CDC website, New York Times website, which is your guys' crap. I don't believe anything on there myself, but that's what they say. And here's from the World Bank's website. We'll have the link down below for all the fact checkers. I'm sure you're going to delete it anyway. But yeah, in 2018, it's still up on their site. It'll probably be gone as soon as enough people start talking about it. But there is something called Internet Archive, and you can go back and look. But as of right now, that info is still out there on their website, that they were planning for COVID-19 test kits back in 2018. Very interesting stuff. In fact, I just found out about some more new information, this time from the Ice Age farmer, that I didn't know about. As we all know, there was Event 201, which was in, I believe, October and November of last year. And it was a total made-up event. Like, everyone was fake. They're all reading off teleprompters. They're all reading off scripts. And they're basically saying, hey, if by chance there was a coronavirus pandemic, how would we handle it? And they're like, well, first thing, we got to make sure no one on the internet can talk about it. Got to wipe out all fake news. Then we got to get the anti-vaxxers. We got to put in basically martial law, police state, and all these sort of things. So that was Event 201. So we know all about that. A lot of people talked about that, but I was not aware that in 2015, John Podesta was involved in an event called Food Chain Reaction. And they were planning for a major food chain supply event to happen in, drum roll please, 2020. You can't make this stuff up.
In fact, there's a period called the Holodomor back in 1932 where the Soviet Union had expanded west, took over Ukraine, and they weren't fond of the communist government there. And so what happened? Well, it was a man-made famine that killed, according to some estimates, between 3 to 12 million people. Now, why did you can see it's known by a few different names here. It translates directly as to kill by starvation. This was a mass murder. In fact, it's genocide by many definitions. Now, many academics and analysts are quite certain this is open and shut. The Soviet communist leadership used this man-made famine to attack Ukrainian nationalism, to break down those people, to starve them out until they submitted to this new communist leadership, the Soviets. That is exactly what's happening now. In fact, we read very briefly, how did that play out? Well, the Soviet communist government came in and they just totally took ownership of the farms. They kicked the farmers off, and then they mixed up what crops were planted where, which knocked production down. And then beyond that, we see significant amounts of grain was left unharvested. And even when it was harvested, we lost a lot. It was just poor administration. We didn't have plans. It was just, communists. They suck. What can you say? I want to bring up one man. That man is John Podesta. Why would we start with John Podesta, who's obviously deeply entrenched and disgusting within the Democratic establishment? It's because several years ago, he hosted an event, his Center for American Progress, which is funded by George Soros, hosted an event called the Food Chain Reaction Game. Now, the Food Chain Reaction Game, much like Event 201, was a simulation. It was a group that posited 5 years from then, in 2020, as it turns out, there would be massive disruptions to the world food supply, and they would need global governments to solve these problems. By the way, the website foodchainreaction.org has just been taken down, perhaps because we're entering into the real-life version of the events that they simulated. But you can still find it here on archive.org. We can read, Food Chain Reaction Game is a simulation, a role-playing exercise intended to improve understanding of how governments, institutions might interact to address a crisis in the global food system. Here's a brief clip that even mentions that it's a result of a pandemic.
Around the globe, food prices have risen about 40% in the last year.
The severe drought in the Horn of Africa has reached famine conditions.
Violence breaks out in Somalia as demonstrators protesting rising food prices clash with police.
We are facing a humanitarian problem.
So somehow the Food Chain Reaction Game Much like Event 201 somehow foresaw a coronavirus outbreak in the near future, Food Chain Reaction Game somehow foresaw massive disruptions to the food supply due to a pandemic in 5 years. And they saw that 5 years ago. It's just somehow that happened. Again, this was an event sponsored by Cargill and Mars, multinational big ag and big food companies, and also the World Wildlife Fund, who we know, and the Center for American Progress by John Podesta. John Podesta remains tightly knit with this Democratic establishment. We've seen him talking about Biden's campaign strategy and his economy, and he even recently turned heads when he role-played Biden in a mock 2020 election and refused to concede, citing disenfranchised minority voters. Ladies and gentlemen, that hasn't happened yet. What's going on? Why does John Podesta playing out? He seems to be very fond of role-playing in these scenarios where there are both disruptions to the 2020 election and massive food supply problems, hunger. Somehow it's almost like we're walking in to the world that he has scripted for us.
Yeah, so they were planning for all this, and man, this food supply chain stuff, this is going to become huge. And by huge, I mean horrible. And by horrible, I mean famines in a lot of areas of the world, food shortages, massive increase in the price of food, mostly because of what the central banks have done, but also so they're increasing the money supply, but decreasing the food supply. This is setting up for, as the Ice Age farmer was talking about, something similar to what they called the Holodomor. I don't know where they got that word. Sounds sort of like out of Lord of the Rings, but these sort of Bolshevik types, which is, if I had to use a word to describe what's going on more than anything, it's Bolshevism. And they use these tactics all the time. In fact, the World Health Organization's person is a communist. He's from the Communist Party or something in Ethiopia. A lot of these guys are. The UN guy, the guy who sounds Russian, but he's not. He's like a total commie. Like they're all commies. They've taken over all this stuff. And one of their big tactics, and Henry Kissinger has said this before, if you control the food, you control the people. So this is gonna, over the next probably year or so, I don't know how long it'll take, but definitely within the next year, gonna see massive price increases. We're already seeing the food banks in the US. Just look up any recent information. It's literally miles and miles of people in their cars waiting, hoping to get some food. And this is before the food supply shortages have really started.
Lines are stretching for miles in state after state as the millions of Americans now living on the edge are facing disruptions in the food distribution chain. The challenge is expected to get worse. Maria Villarreal reports.
How long you been here?
8:15 this morning.
8:15.
Like the lines for free food in New Orleans, desperation is growing by the day.
So, might want to plant a garden, might want to buy a farm. That's what I'm looking at doing right now. Might want to get some guns, might want to get some crypto, some precious metals. And, we've got that community in Nicaragua. It's already almost sold out. But if you can try to get in, people are like, it's good. A lot of people are aware of what's going on, and they're getting out ASAP. It's on the beach in the middle of nowhere in Nicaragua. You can check it out at dollarvigilante.com/Nicaragua. I'm looking at a farm. I'm using our guy to look for a farm for me right now. If you want to use them as well, go to dollarvigilante.com/Mexico. He might not get back to you for weeks. There's hundreds of people trying to escape right now. It's literally the Underground Railroad for Americans right now. But like I said, there's going to be so many opportunities to also make massive profits through all this, because most people have no idea what's going on. Your average person, they watch their television, they're like, well, they just say a few more weeks, got to flatten the curve. It's like September. It's like a year from now, they're like, just a couple more weeks, they said. Everyone's lost their job, we're all on government welfare now, but it's a few more weeks. And they say on the television, everything's going to come right back, the economy's going to just come right back, should be fine. So that's what your average person believes. And if they were going to panic and buy something, they'd buy toilet paper when there's going to be massive food supply shortages soon. So your average person is going to get just destroyed, wiped out during all this. But if you know what's going on, and if you've been watching this channel, you kind of do, I think. I don't think I'm wrong on any of this stuff. I might be wrong on some things, but no, like this is like so obvious. It's like nothing could be clear to me what's going on. This is as clear as day. And if you know what's going on, you could potentially make fortunes. We've seen the stock market go down quite a bit today. This is Thursday, I think. Crypto's down quite a bit. Precious metals down a little bit. We actually have been telling people in our newsletter, the Dollar Vigilante newsletter, that we are expecting a pullback here and maybe even some sort of almost a crash in the stock market again. So we might be in the beginnings of that, but you can still make fortunes. We've been prepared for all this stuff. And we actually have a free webinar with my friend Max Wright. You can go check it out. A lot of people have told me they loved it. It was really amazing to them. And it's completely free, totally free to check out the webinar. Just go to dollarvigilante.com/max. I don't know if it'll be available much longer, but it's available right now. They keep filling it up. Like, it's pretty amazing. It's great to see that a lot of people are taking action right now, because the more people who are ready for this, the easier this is going to be. And the more people who aren't ready for it, the crazier this is going to be. So good to see a lot of people are taking action. Please like this video, subscribe, share down below. I don't know if it's even going to be on YouTube very long. Most of our videos aren't nowadays. Of course, we're still on, we'll have links down below to BitChute, LBRY. We're also on DTube. And also, we just started up. It's completely decentralized video sharing service on like Onion routers and stuff. Like we're going, everything we're doing, we're going like Onion, dark web. We're moving everything as like, unstoppable as possible, decentralized. It's all in the cloud. It's all like in the web and stuff like that. And we actually have all our videos now being served off our website at dollarvigilante.tv. Which it's like nowhere. It's like this technology is pretty cool now. Like no one can stop this website. So that's pretty cool. So go check it out, just to check it out. We even have comments and everything on there. I'd like to see if people like the comment section, dollarvigilante.tv. And like I said, check out that Max webinar. It's free at dollarvigilante.com/max. And where's Lucy? We're out a little late today again because I was playing poker again today. And we're supposed to go on a trip. And they're loading up our RV, not because I'm going on the RV, but we're using it to carry a lot of our staff and a lot of stuff to where we're going. So I think we're doing it wrong, but yeah, I think you are doing it wrong. We're not supposed to be flying in private jets and stuff and staying in nice Airbnbs when you got an RV, but hey, we never do anything normal. All I care is we got lots of Bitcoin, Monero, gold, silver, tacos, and I got the curses.
Every day, you wake up to more bad news. More infections, more riots, more violence, more unemployed, more fake money, more businesses going under, and worse. And while it's obvious the world is facing a monumental shift, knowing how not only to survive these tough times, but knowing how to turn them around financially is almost impossible. Jeff Berwick and Max Wright have been warning of this coming crash for years, and now everything they've taught has come to a final explosive peak. This means it's time to stop talking about what's coming and instead show you exactly how to take advantage of the greatest profit-making opportunity of our lifetime. What Jeff and Max have discovered is that there's never been a better opportunity for average people to move from where they are financially today to where they want to be, if they know which asset classes to move into and out of, and when. That's why Jeff and Max created this free training. In it, Max will teach you the top secret strategies that will take you from wherever you are today to financially free with $100,000 per year in residual income in just 18 months. Even if you only have $5,000 in your savings account today. So you'll never have to worry about how you're going to make mortgage payments, put food on the table, travel anywhere in the world you want, or cover any of life's little surprises ever again. For instance, You'll discover everything he's learned about what asset classes are about to boom and which are about to crash, along with exact timeframes for each, so you're always one step ahead of the pack and able to build any level of wealth you desire. He'll also teach you how to navigate the 3 distinct phases of the coming crash, so you'll know exactly where to move your investments and when, so you're never left questioning your decisions or holding the bag in a crashing asset class. Plus, you'll learn a foolproof method for navigating the tectonic shift that everyone knows is coming, but will leave most people crushed. This tactic will allow you to magnify your wealth many times over for a larger home, faster car, bigger boat, or the luxurious vacations you've always wanted. That's just a small fraction of what you'll learn in this free webinar. It covers so much more. It's the exact step-by-step strategies and investment moves you need to make over the next 18 months to 2 years to turn $5,000 into a life-changing residual income of complete financial independence. Don't enter the new normal unaware, uneducated, and unprepared for what's coming next. Click the button below and discover how to turn $5,000 into $100,000 per year of residual income and much more, starting right now.